who might not be able to join us this evening for this webinar. And I noticed as we've passed 31 that have joined us this evening. All right, so first of all, ladies and gentlemen, a word of welcome to each one of you. It is really heartening to see how many people has joined us here, and the people still coming in. Great stuff. Okay. So I think there may be a good reason. Many people is wondering is now how will this new world look like? And many of you, if you have already opened, and I hope you've opened your study guides and textbooks, you would have noticed that there are very pertinent sections in many of your curriculum, which reflects on the new world of work, more specifically then the fourth industrial revolution. And with that as well, the whole world of artificial intelligence, as well as robotics. And I believe that many of you already, as myself, start wondering is how will this impact, how will this influence us, and how do we need to prepare as individuals for this new world of work, given that there are many of us that still may have a number of years ahead in our careers. So it's for me, very nice that everybody have joined and ready to come and listen to our guest speaker this evening, which I will introduce in a short while. Ladies and gentlemen, I also just want to welcome Dr. Treda Oosthuizen. I noticed that she has also joined us. This is our head of our school, person in the leadership of our school. And I also just want to welcome her and thank you for making the time to join us this evening as well. Then just a few arrangements, ladies and gentlemen. If I may ask, if you can just keep your mics muted. This helps for the recording and that there are no unnecessary noise within the recording so that it enables people that listen afterwards to have a clear voice in terms of the recording as such. We first will do the presentation and then which will be approximately 30 minutes to about 40 minutes max. And then after that, we will open up for a question and answer session. Or if you want to share any ideas or thoughts on this particular topic. So if you come up with a question, you can either jot it down if you have a piece of paper in front of you, or I suggest that you can use the chat with everyone, little box there in the bottom, there on the right-hand side of your screen at the bottom. And in the meantime, you can type their questions, you can type their ideas, suggestions, you can share with us. And then after the presentation, I will go back and see what kind of comments or questions there will be. So, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me a privilege this evening to introduce Professor Cecile Schultz to you. Professor Cecile is a full professor at the Tshwane University of Technology. Her specific interest in the research is the new world of work and how specifically it will impact on us as working individuals, but also very important how it will impact in terms of, for example, poverty. And also, how do we need to prepare ourselves for this new world of work? Professor Cecile is a recognized academic in this field and have also done extensive research. And it's really a privilege to have her tonight and to come and listen what she wants to share with us. And I know that each of you are really going to enjoy and definitely will take something home this evening. Professor Cecile, welcome. And I'm going to hand over there to you. You can start with the presentation.
Tasai, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. It's such a privilege to be here and to see the number of students. It's always an honor to share what I've discovered. I just put my video on that you can see I'm not a robot or an AI lecturer. I'm real. So I'm just going to put my camera off for bandwidth reasons. And then I'm going to start off with the presentation. So Sue, you are so welcome. If there are any questions, as Mr. De Jager said, keep them in mind, and then we will open the floor for sharing your ideas and your questions. Okay, so the new world of World 4IR. Some people, if they see this topic, it can create a lot of fear, meaning that it's the unknown, and people are not sure what's going to lie ahead. Or will my job be in danger? Will my lifestyle improve? Will I have more time for strategic issues? So yes, it creates a lot of confusion, a lot of emotions, a lot of excitement. So let's dig into what I've discovered through my research. Obviously, 30, 40 minutes, there's so much to share, but I'm going to share the highlights, specifically also share a little bit on the future of HR, which is also important, I believe, for you to know. So yes, this is the layout of my presentation, introduction, the 4IR in a nutshell, a little bit of the most recent technology, future employment, future managerial competencies, some recommendations, future research ideas that you can ponder about, and then a last thought. Okay, so let's start with an introduction. So driven by transformative technologies, Industry 4.0 is reinventing business model and processes. So the idea of the whole Industry 4.0 is to assist organizations to improve themselves. So it's seen as helpful by most of the organizations. And the fourth industrial revolution is changing how we live, how we work, and how we think. And that's why we are here this evening, because it's a lot of change, and we need to be ready and future fit um, in order to be also part of this rapid improvements. So it's bringing the rapid advancement of technology. So work is no longer a place you go, and requires interdisciplinary thinkers who can be creative, think critically, and solve problems as they arise. So if you are, for example, specializing in human resource development or human resource management, it is so critical that we start to collaborate with other disciplines, such as management, such as marketing, such as finances. So we should not work in silos anymore. Collaboration in the future world of work is extremely important, and this will assist us to start to really work interdisciplinary, quite an important part of the future world of work. So the 4IR, just to give you a brief on where it started off. So the Industry 1.0, I'm not going to read through all the slides. You can read through most of the information, but I'm going to highlight the essentials. So yes, Industry 1.0 is 1784, then Industry 2.0 was around 1870. Industry 3.0, there was already automation evident there, 1969. And then we are now in Industry 4.0 with the Internet of Things and all kinds of new technology, which is evident. Mr. De Jager, I think, can we ask then, what is the main difference, do you think, between IR4 and IR5? Maybe some of you want to use the chat box. Do you have an idea what the difference could be? We are already in Industry 4.0, but yes, people are already talking about 5.0 in order to be ready. Brandon, you have no sound. Can you perhaps use your chat box for this answer? But yes, so what do you think in essence is the difference? Or is it something that you really have not, maybe it's something new to ponder about. But in essence, the difference between the two is Industry 4.0 focuses on technology, robots, and interconnected systems mostly. And Industry 5.0 focuses on the machine and man collaboration. And this is where human resource management is going to play an extremely important part to deal with this interaction between man and machine, Mr. De Jager also talked about all the implications, possible negative and positive implications around this collaboration that we're going to talk a little bit about. But that's in essence the main difference between the two. So the role of HR is going to be extremely important, especially in Industry 5.0. Industry 6.0, moving to the next socio-technological transformation, which is going to be anchored in nanotechnology. And we already see that in today's age, biotechnology, quantum computing, and AI, which is already evident in 2023. This will include industrial robots, warehouse robots, agricultural robots, autonomous vehicles, caring robots, medical robots, and robots in education. But I must say, I cannot imagine or picture a robot in front of me when I'm in school. But yes, according to futurists, robots definitely in education will or may be seen. Yeah, and what is this I got from the Japan Times, just to say who's intelligent now after all. Maybe the robots will say in the future that we are artificial. But I think from my personal point of view, we shouldn't be scared of what's to come. I'm going to share a little bit about competencies that we should have to be future ready. But a robot, artificial intelligence will never be competitive to the human brain and the human mind. We are so fearfully and wonderfully made. So yes, I think we should not fear, but there are a few things that we should be aware of and careful of when we deal specifically with AI and robotics. So let's talk a little bit about technology, just so that you understand all the terminology. Sometimes people mix all these futuristic type of concepts. Automation is applying technology, programs, robotics, or processes to achieve outcomes with minimal human input. Digitization refers to the process of converting physical information into digital formats. Yes, and digitalization refers to the use of digital technologies to improve business operations and to create new value for customers. So I think in our case, in the world of management, we work a lot with the last one. And obviously, yes, some of the processes in HR and business world, in managerial functions, are also now automated in order to achieve proper outcomes with minimal human input. The Internet of Things refer to the collective network of connected devices and the technology that facilitates communication between devices and the cloud, so as well as between the devices themselves. And if you are going to further your studies in the future, and if you work with important documents, it's so important to save everything in the cloud, Google Drive or OneDrive. I've seen too many times masters and doctorate students not saving it properly, and then it's absolutely a train smash if it's not properly saved. So yes, we should use the cloud to save all our most important documents. So that's just on the sideline. Robotics involves the creation of robots to perform tasks without further intervention. Humanoids, I've just added one specific humanoid, Sophia, on the next slide. She's the most well-known or newest humanoid. So a humanoid is a human-centric functions and often take human-like forms, like Sophia, who has traveled the world, graced the cover of Cosmopolitan magazine, and addressed the United Nations. And this is Sophia. So process visual, emotional, and conversational data to better impact with humans. So Sophia's made multiple appearances on The Tonight Show, where she challenged host Jimmy Fallon to a game of rock, paper, scissors. She expressed her disdain for nacho cheese and sang a short duet with Fallon. So yes, it seems like she's one of the most popular humanoids worldwide. Quite interesting. Cobots, collaborative robots. So cobots are designed to function alongside or directly with humans, and we're going to see that more often now in the future. Machine learning is also a term that's been flying around. Machine learning is a branch of AI and computer science that focuses on using data and algorithms to imitate how humans learn, gradually improving its accuracy. So it's basically the AI working on the robot with, so I think machine learning is quite advanced if you think of technology. And then artificial intelligence refers to the simulation of human intelligence by machines. And we already work with Chat GPT, for example, and that's currently the most known or popular type of AI. The positive and negative impact of AI and robotics, I've not decided not to go in too much detail for that, but just for you to be aware of the fact that AI and robotics can be very positive for us because it's a time saver. They can do the routine tasks, the boring tasks, and then we will be able to focus more on creative tasks, strategic tasks, as well as thinking out of the box, think tanks, and negative impact on the downside of it is that AI, there's a lot of scammers and legal issues. If there's not a proper legal framework, especially if you think of the people who work with the algorithms and developing these AI, within which legal framework are they working? So it's quite important that the ethics of AI and robotics should be carefully looked after. There's a lot of research to be done on this because it could really invade our privacy. Our freedom of choice can be, could be negatively impacted. And people could become lazy because all these robots and AI are doing the things for us now and we're not putting in effort. So yes, I remember someone said the other day there was that movie Wall-E, and I also saw a movie where there was people in space and the robots did everything for them and they just became fatter and fatter. So we must be careful that these types of technology can assist us, but it shouldn't take us over. We shouldn't allow that to really, so that our lifestyle should be impacted in a positive way. We should not allow it to impact us negatively. But yes, the main issue for me here is the ethics around AI and robotics. And I've heard that China, for example, has put a hold on AI because there's a lot of negativity and negative impact regarding some of the AI systems. So we should embrace technology, but we should, in the same time and the same breath, we should also be careful. There's a lot of scammers. There's deep faking, for example. That's also negative impact where people just copy your profile and you think you are speaking to your friend, but actually it's AI. So rather phone your friend and just check, is it really you that's talking to me now? So we should really be careful, especially in the future world of work. But yes, there's positive and negative impact on both AI and robotics in our personal lives as well as in the work life. But I cannot accentuate more that we should be careful, but we should not be afraid. Future employment, if we talk specifically about hybrid work, I think COVID-19 forced us to work from home, and all of our technical and technological skills were stressed, and we were expanded, all types of different skills, working with teams now, going online. So I think that was a positive thing of COVID. The rest was not so positive. But yes, working from home and working at your office, that brings a lot of challenges with it. The two main challenges is communication and the cyber issues. The first one, communication. I think the fact that people are working from home and they don't bond. If I think of the theory of McClelland, some people have a high need for affiliation. So those type of employees, they really suffer to work at home because they need to socialize. It's who they are. So it's quite important that as far as possible, rather have a hybrid system where some time during the week people must attend in the offices, they must be visible, and they must work from the office, and they're also allowed to work from home. But yes, it depends on the company, it depends on the size of the company, it depends on the outcomes of the company. But communication, according to research, seems to be a huge problem when we work outside of the office. Another big problem is cybersecurity issues where employees can fall prey to phishing schemes, and they can be tricked into obtaining all the information. So that is also something that we should be careful of. I see many organizations also now give training on this so that we are not caught off guard, because sometimes it seems so legit, and actually it's not. A gig economy, that's something that in the world of HR we're going to deal more with. So gig economy is, in actual fact, if you think of a musician that play at certain gigs, the gig economy works the same way, where gig workers work for a short term as temporary or independent contractors for a specific period of time or on a specific project. And yeah, it's not it's a new term, but it's an old work arrangement. It's basically part-time workers, agile workforce, and freelance type of workers. The challenge for us is to deal with them, that they also feel part of the company. I think that is one of the main issues of managers with this gig economy workers. So in a blended workforce, there could be teams of permanent and freelance workers, so they should work well together. To ensure that chaos doesn't ensue, each worker needs to be connected to each other with visibility of work documents, timelines, and any new developments that might affect a project. So there should be transparency between the permanent as well as the part-time type of workers, especially if they work on projects. Then if we think of the automation of HR systems, there's a lot of functions in HR that we can automate to save up time for more strategic functions. A few examples is to obtain an onboarding app, to let these employees, maybe one of my master's students, he's doing now his study on onboarding post-COVID and pre-COVID. And it seems like most of the companies, they prefer a blended approach, where they have the onboarding app, but they also prefer a face-to-face with these newcomers to ensure that socialization is improved, so that the newcomer will feel most welcome within a short period of time. Then with an automated timesheet app, you track and manage employee timesheets automatically, making the process faster and more accurate. Automated leave management processes that most of us already used. Performance management software streamlines the process, keeps it bias-free, ensures accurate decision making, and also exit interviews. It could be a lot of paperwork, but we can also automate that process. Sometimes I've seen in many companies, managers, HR people tend to neglect this function, but it's so critical to get that information from the people who resigned. And then AI. If I think of AI specifically in recruitment and talent management to screen the CVs, it also saves a lot of time in the world of HR. Future managerial competencies that I've picked up when I worked with quantitative and qualitative surveys. Intrapersonal competencies is your cognitive, affective, and cognitive part. And future interpersonal competencies are those competencies that you need to work with people. So cognitive, you need to think out of the box, innovation. You need to have business savvy. Many times HR students, they study HR because they like people and they shy away from numbers. But unfortunately, in the world of HR, we need to have business savvy, work with metrics and data analytics. So you must have that business acumen. Self-efficacy is the belief that you can finish a task. Flexibility, we cannot allow to be rigid. Complexity mindset, you must have the ability to produce multiple perspectives of issues. So we should not think rigidly. We should really try to learn how to think out of the box, because challenges in the future might arise and we should be ready and have the necessary tools to do that. And tools that you can use is scenario planning and scanning the horizon. I really want to encourage you to read more about scenario planning and scanning the horizon as part of foresight. We cannot predict the future, obviously, but we can expand and refine the range of plausible developments that need to be taken into consideration. So we should really work on foresight. I've seen this competency in many other also recent scholars that also wrote about that. Then agility. I think all of you already heard about this word a lot, to be agile, and that's the ability to adapt and evolve people and processes, not only people, at a pace to accelerating and unpredictable changes. And resilience is to bounce back better, but is to bounce back, yes, but resilience is to bounce back better. And it also has to do with risk intelligence and risk culture, which is also then part of the robotics and the AI and all the ethical issues that may arise. So resilience is also quite an important competency. Emotional intelligence, the ability to really compose yourself, to understand yourself, to be self-aware, to manage your emotions, as well as to understand the emotions of other people. So composing is almost like hitting the pause button. You are feeling all these emotions and anger on the inside, but on the outside you seem to have everything under control. These 4 tips is just my tips that I share with you. To count to 10, it's important not to act on your emotions. First, think what's going on, hit your pause button, and then know what triggers you. If you go to a meeting and you know that person that aggravates you will be in the meeting, it's so important that you prepare for that properly, so that you are not triggered, that you lose your temper. First, think about what's going on. It's so critical not to react upon your emotions. First, think. And then last one is humility. We don't always have to defend ourselves. Sometimes you just let it go. So it's not always necessary to go into an argument on certain things. It just sometimes steals our joy. Cognitive, we have to make a strategic contribution. We have to deal with analytics and metrics. As Kaplan and Norton said, we cannot manage what we cannot measure. So the balance scorecard and other tools are there for us to really measure what we are doing. And the ability to deal with technology, as we've seen earlier, and then obviously how to properly deal with remote working. Engagement, bottom-up type of leadership, critical here, to regularly engage with your staff. Collaboration, how to handle complex communication as well as cultural intelligence. You have to show that you care, because we work with people, we don't work with objects. We should never see people as objects that you can just move around like a chair because you don't need him or her anymore. It's so important that we see people for who they are and we treat them with the necessary respect and show that we care and that we are sincere, because people see through us. And then also the ability to handle virtual teamwork. Yes, if we look at this picture, trust, so important in the world of work currently as well as in the future world of work. So the question is always, what impression do you leave on other people, or what impression do you make on other people? And this is all part of having social intelligence, reputation management, the impression that you make on others. And it's critical that we are authentic. We should not play games now or in the future to impress other people. Effective listening. It's rude to look at your watch or on your phone when other people are speaking, so we must listen actively and respond and listen attentively to what people say. Sometimes we have a problem. We listen, or rather we hear with our ears, but we don't listen with our brains. And it's critical that we really listen attentively by processing what this person is saying. Conversational skills. Here we can try to remember details about a person, and next time you see him or her, it will allow more meaningful dialogue. And the last one here is lack of arguing. It's not always necessary to reject what other people say or to go into an argument. Sometimes we just listen to what people say and we could learn from them. We sometimes think we know it all, but we don't. So rather listen attentively with an open mind and try to not always disagree with a person. Leadership, in essence, it's all about character and influence. Your skills can get you hired, but your character can get you fired. So people will follow you for who you are, for the compelling vision that you have, for the positive influence that you have on them, and your ability to influence them to do something better with their lives and bring the company to higher grounds. The thing that helps us to become more authentic is crucibles. So those are the hardships, the trials, the tests, the failures, points of deep self-reflection that force us to ask really what really matters really in our lives. So characterized by a confluence of threatening intellectual, social, economic, and or political forces, crucibles test your principles, your belief systems, and your core values. So yes, if you go through a divorce, or there's a illness in your family or within yourself, or if you think of the COVID-19, that was also lots of crucibles and hardships. Economically, it could be hardships. You could have lost your job, for example. So those are almost like desert times in your life, or winter seasons. So it's important that we learn what we need to learn in those difficult times. We should forgive. And we shouldn't stay there too long, camping a tent. It's so important that we do not stay there too long and rather become better and not bitter after such trials. So this is your authentic leadership. People are looking for good leaders because the world is so corrupt and there are so many dysfunctional leaders. So authentic leader has the ability to do self-reflection, and they are really what you see is what you get type of people. So it's important that we get to know ourselves and that we improve where there needs to be improvement. And we should never ever compare our weaknesses with other people's strengths. It's so important that we do not do that, because you will just feel unworthy. Servant leadership also quite critical for the future. Lead by example, vision, humility, not self-serving, authentic, caring, and to have good morals and ethics. Recommendations that we can make is there should be transparency in everything that we do, in every single technology that we use, in every decision we make, in every strategy that's been rolled out. quite critical to be transparent. Then everything you do must be explainable. If we specifically work with AI, explain how algorithms arrive at their predictions. Inclusiveness, the research currently done in wealthy countries. So what about developing countries? There's a lot of research on AI and robotics needed there. Then we should also have a legal framework when we work with all this technology. Otherwise we can really harm the human side of us. So that's also important that there's research done and consultation between industry and education necessary to see how we can develop some legal frameworks so that people are safe. Yeah, we must protect one another. Higher education and organizations both need to prepare the next generation for the mindset of lifelong learning. And also think tanks would be wonderful if we talk about technology and robotics and 4IR and how to safeguard human life. Conduct further research on the new world of work 4IR. And then this is some research ideas that you can think about when you are possibly going to do future research. What is the role of HR in the new world of work? What is the positive and negative impact of robots and AI in the new world of work? Will AI and robots enhance economic growth and improve competitiveness in the global marketplace? Will AI and robots improve the quality of human work life? How should managers deal with robotics and AI's ethical and moral issues? Which future soft and hard competencies will employees and managers need? What will man-machine collaboration in the fifth IR entail? So these are some burning issues that need to be addressed. Just a last tip from my side. If we do research in the future or for future studies, futuristic studies rather, it's always good to use an open-ended approach, which means you will not use, for example, a quantitative closed-ended approach. So your research philosophy will be interpretivism. An exploratory research design usually works well. A qualitative research method, you can collect data by using interviews or focus groups or Delphi technique. Data analysis, thematic or content analysis also works well to analyze your data. Last thought from my side, the former CEO Brian Dyson gave the 5-ball speech in 1996, and I think it's still relevant in 2023. He said, imagine life as a game in which you are juggling some 5 balls in the air. They are work, family, health, friends, and spirit, and you're keeping all these in the air. You will soon understand that work is a rubber ball. If you drop it, it will bounce back. But the other 4 balls, family, health, friends, and spirit, are made of glass. If you drop one of these, they will be irrevocably scuffed, marked, nicked, damaged, or even shattered. They will never be the same. You must understand that and strive for it. So work efficiently during office hours and leave on time. And for those of us who work hybrid, critical that we have boundaries when we work from home. Give the required time to your family, friends, and have proper rest. You only have one body. You're not going to get a spare one when you are 60. So we should look after ourselves, eat healthy, exercise, get rest. We are human beings, not human doings. And then the last quote from Brian Dyson, value has a value only if its value is valued. I say thank you from my side. Thank you for listening to me, and thank you for this opportunity to share the knowledge that I've obtained. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor Schultz. So before we will do all the other formalities, I would like this opportunity and going to open the floor a bit. I see a number of people, they are hand clap, so great for that. Antoinette say, interesting to learn the terminologies. I must say, very informative. Antoinette, thank you for a well put together presentation and for your time. And Joe, say very much thank you. Also, thank you very much. It was very informative. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me allow the opportunity if there's any questions for Professor Schultz or any comment. You can just unmute your mic and you can go ahead, or you can just raise your hand. Any questions? Or any comments or any remarks that you would like to make?
I think they are now so busy with the future, they are not here now. They're already there.
I think I agree. I think it's quite a bit to digest. And
Yes, that's a lot, I must say. I'm also still digesting, even though I've compiled everything here.
yeah, no, I agree. Doreen, you can unmute and please ask your question. Antoinette asked there a question. In a country like ours, where load shedding is a staple, how do we fare to other countries? How do we fare? How do we fare about other countries in terms of, obviously, is it robotics and artificial intelligence?
Yeah, now, Antoinette, that's a good question. I think I think if I think of the wealthier countries, they don't have this issue. So for them, it's quite easy. For us, it's definitely going to be a huge challenge. I've not really come across a lot of research on this, so this is a field that we need to attend. But yes, if I think of us against the first world countries, we don't really have this luxury that they have with electricity going on 24/7. So yes, we don't compare so well. But yes, there's still a lot of research to be done. So it's a good question, yeah, and it's also a good future study project. But
Absolutely.
we have too many challenges regarding load shedding, yes.
Yeah. Antoinette, thank you very much for that question. Right. Anybody else, ladies and gentlemen? It's now your opportunity to ask and to share. All right. So allow me as well. I just want to share one of the things that while Professor Schultz was busy, something that strikes me, and I think what is quite important, I believe, for all our HR students. Joe, you have raised your hand. I'll just pause my input there. You can just unmute your mic, ask your question or comment.
It's just to, good evening. It's just to confirm my understanding about this lesson today is that the fourth industry revolution is marking our era. So it's important for us to link our behaviors to the fourth industry revolution. I was just to see if we can have a more clarification on the link between the fourth industry revolution and the behavior in the workplace, whether it was clarified or could be we could have more deep insight on this. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Dave. Professor, did you hear that question there?
Yes, the link between 4IR and behavior. Yes, behavior is very, sorry, it's very wide. So I just want to try to find out, are you referring to workplace behavior in the 4IR? Just to comment on that, if I understand you correctly, is that there's a lot of technology that we use. So for example, just to give you an example on behavior, if you need to compile a document or a report or a proposal, many people use, for example, AI, artificial intelligence like Chat GPT. And then they would say it is their report and their behavior is basically they're not 100% ethical because they did not really do proper research and to check if that information is authentic and is the latest information, because AI also has given problems in the past where the information is not 100% correct. So if I link behavior to full IR, it's so critical that whatever AI or technology we use, we should ensure that it fits the purpose of the outcome of the company and that everything we do is transparent and ethical. I think that is a huge problem. Even when we see students submitting assignments, they use ChatGPT and the Turnitin just shows it is not viable. So in that sense, I think ethical behavior, it's critical that we stay ethical in dealing with all this technology that's available. So, and yeah, and if we think of behavior in the workplace, all the scams, all the fake calls that we get and stealing of money and all this huge problems. So ethically, we should check behavior of the employees as managers. But on the positive side, there's also good behavior because all these AI and robotics can assist us with doing the boring, the repetitive task, for example, and that will free us up to think strategically, to work on more difficult tasks that those robots cannot do or the AI cannot do. So in that sense, behavior linked is that we will be freed up for more important, more strategic tasks as HR and general managers or line managers as well as top managers. So in that sense, behavior-wise, AI could assist us to improve our quality of work life in the sense that we will have time to do things we actually enjoy in the workplace and not spending so much time on scanning CVs, because AI can assist us for example, scanning CVs for recruitment and talent management purposes. So yeah, there's a positive and a negative side towards behavior already in 4IR because we're already in 4IR. It's not future anymore. So yes, Joa, I hope I've answered your question. Partially, I think there's much more to say when I think of your question. But in essence, I think the examples that I gave will give you a good idea of how behavior could be linked.
Yeah. Well, Professor Lutz, yeah, I agree 100%, I think, with that. And I think one of the things that's quite important, I think, for all our students that is studying in HR, that we, as you progress in your studies, is to understand that there are many things in human resources that is very transactional of nature, which is basically completing forms and updating documents and so forth. And one of the things that we learn from technology is that technology can help us with those typically transactional activities in human resources. That free us up for time to look more at the transformational task in HR. And I believe one of the main things that HR will play in the future is to prepare the future workforce for what AI and what robotics will bring to us. Even so far as where people will work together with robots, which is in the 6IR, and have to learn how to actually work with your colleague, which is now suddenly a robot, Sophia of one of those robots. And how do we really cope and build that kind of relationships within the workplace? So I believe that HR will play a very fundamental role in help us transforming people in organizations to understand and to be able to fit into this world of technology, but more important, find your specific place where you can still make the difference, which is, as Professor Schultz have indicated, more on a strategic level, more on a creative level, designing new systems, designing new ways of managing people, putting together new frameworks, new models, that our work becomes much more transformational and preparing people for the future world of work, and ensure that people have the set of competence that will make them to fit in that world so that they can still make a meaningful contribution in the future. So I think that for us, we have to think a lot about that specifically. I think we need to think about a lot of that. And Professor Schultz mentioned Edward de Bono there, and Dave Ulrich, and I 100% agree there, specifically in that particular world. I also noticed then,
Yeah,
Elena,
thank you. I fully
yeah,
agree. Sure.
Elena just said, yeah, processing information is well put together. Thank you very much for the information there. Thank you, Elena. Okay, great. Right, let me give an opportunity. One last question. Then we're going to, Doreen, you are the lucky winner of the last question. You can unmute your mic, ask Doreen.
Good evening, lecturers. I just have like a quick question. I've been listening to everything that you've said, but I just want to know, is there like a plan B for like countries like African countries in general that depends on manual labor? What happens to the human race when there's like robots replacing humans in certain areas? Is there like a plan B for the human race to survive? Because generally it is expected that people will lose their jobs. What can you say about that?
Yeah, I think that's an extremely good question. And when you ask your question, I was thinking, I was almost listening if I was listening to a movie, because we see in the movies all these scary things with the human race. But yes, certain positions, I think in the manufacturing side and even banking industry, we've seen a lot of automation, people losing their jobs. But I've read that we should not fear that, because the moment robots and artificial intelligence are doing certain things humans do, there are other things now that we can do to assist them and to assist those programmers to improve those robots. So upskilling and reskilling of the human race will be essential. But yeah, I fully agree with you, Doreen. It is a scary thought. Some positions will, for example, if you take a nurse, even our HR positions, that will not really ever be 100% replaced. There will be caring robots, but yeah, some positions robots will never ever be able to do. So I think, Doreen, to answer your questions, to protect the human race, there's a lot of thinking tanks and collaboration and research needed to see what could be, as you said. I like the way that you put Plan B, because Plan A now seems a little bit far-fetched. So what can we do to ensure that the human race will not be affected so negatively that there's a lot of trouble and issues and poverty in the future? Yeah, so I actually think it's a very good question. It's not well thought through. I don't think we can give you an exact answer at the moment, but yes, there should be lots of platforms necessary so that we can rethink and think through, is robot, or rather are robots and AI really the answer to everything? And as, for example, China, it's put now a hold on AI with good reason. And perhaps that will also be the case for South Africa. We're not sure yet, but we should talk more about this in order to find solutions. Good question.
Yeah. I agree 100% there with Professor Schultz, is that, it's not just, either or, it's really a thing that we hope that people will sit down and discuss and collaborate on these kind of
Yes.
issues, and not just make unilateral decisions. Just think about South Africa moving from coal to solar energy, for example, different forms. Again, there's obviously a very much outcry how many people lose their jobs, and at the same time realizing that we need to reskill people, realign people for those work. And I think HR can play a pivotal role in making sure that we start reskilling people for the right kind of things that will give us a place in the world of the fourth industrial, fifth industrial revolutions. Give us a place with robotics. Give us a place with artificial intelligence. So, so to all the students, guys, so think a little bit out of the box there. Challenge yourself, your thinking. Think about those things that's becoming important, not just for yourself, but also your role in human resources. All right, so let me just give maybe a last opportunity there to Professor Sills. Anything, last thoughts, last ideas there before we will start to close down our session for this evening?
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. De Jager, and thank you again for the opportunities. I must say it was most enjoyable. And the two names that I've added there, Edward de Bono, you can really Google. He has a whole website on critical thinking, innovative thinking, lateral thinking, divergent thinking. So there's a lot of tools that we can use to start to think innovatively. And then Dave Ulrich, he's for me, is one of the gurus in HR. So you can also Google his articles, his work. Yeah, because lifelong learning is essential. The fact that you have enrolled in for this course is wonderful, but yes, a lifelong learner is definitely a skill and an attitude or a mentality that all of us should embrace. So really Google Dave Ulrich and Edward de Bono. It will assist you just to think a little bit out of the box, as Mr. De Jager said. So thank you from my side.
Right, guys. So from my side, first of all, thank you to everybody that have joined us this evening. We had a nice number of students, so it's really for me exciting to see our students starting to engage with us and joining these kind of things, which will just deepen your understanding, I think, of many things that we present to you in your study materials and in your curriculum. And just help you to understand also better understand the readers for your studying and what you find it. And then also Professor Schultz, thank you very much again for a very insightful, very powerful presentation for us this evening. I think many of the people have said here a lot of things to think about, a lot of things to digest. Still maybe here and there a bit of concern, but also some of the positive there. But I think most important, what you said as well, is that we all need to look at, how we're going to reinvent ourselves, how do we realign ourselves, how do we reskill ourselves, and how do we contribute to the broader society in terms of that, and making sure that we as the human race will have a specific place within the fourth industrial revolution. And I believe that we do have. Because, as you said, we are unique in many, many ways as humans, and the chance that robots will just merely replace us, I think it's a bit, it's a bit kind of very far, maybe on the horizons, and we always will have a place. So from my side, thank you to everybody this evening. Thank you to all the students for taking part. And also just a word of thanks to our head of school, Dr. Trader Oosthuizen, also for joining us. Dr. Trader, I don't know if you may want to maybe have a last word or just share something there with the students. I would appreciate. If I can put you on the spot, sorry.
No, thank you, Ing.
Also nice to have you on.
Yeah, this is an extremely interesting topic. So I enjoy listening to Prof. Cecile talking about this. And the student questions, it does make you think about these things. And I think what we need to realize is that human beings are adaptable. When you looked at that slide, one of the slides that indicated the changes since Industry 1 to Industry 5, during all these phases, jobs changed, the work environment changed, and human beings adapted and they reskilled, and alternative job opportunities came into being. So I don't think that we need to be scared about the job losses. We just have to be ready to change and to adapt, because we have that advantage over robots. We can adapt, they can't. Thanks, Ing. Thanks, Sue.
Thank you very much, Dr. Trader. Also, thank you very much for joining us and also your leadership in our school. and supporting us in this endeavors. We really do appreciate. So there also, guys, you've heard, very much important. We can change. Well, robots cannot change that easy. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks to everybody. Have a great evening. It is all the way down to the
So
weekend.
thank you everyone. Yes, thank you, Mr. Biafra.
Thank you, Prof. Sils. I appreciate everybody. And look out for our next seminar that's coming, of next webinars, as we're going to continue our discussion regarding the fourth industrial revolution and the impact on the world of work and the impact on our lives. Have a great evening, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye bye.